You guys will love
Okay, I'll look for it.
it. So we talked about Jesus's arrest in the garden and the betrayal of Judas and all of that. And then we're going to talk about the accusations against Christ. And there are a number of passages, obviously, that talk about this. And Jesus foretold that he would die and he would rise again. And he told them that before it happened. They didn't truly understand, I don't think, but Jesus did his best to prepare them for his disciples for what was going to happen. So I'm going to read a few passages to you. They should all be here. Luke 23, that is not what I was looking for. So, okay, well, it says I have slides for these, but I'll just read them. So Jesus foretold that he would die and rise again. And this is from Mark 8. He, meaning Jesus, then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. So he's telling them what's going to happen, and Peter gets angry at him and says, "No, that can't happen." And then that's when Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan." That's when Jesus calls Peter Satan. And he's trying to help his disciples, and even in the garden when Jesus is praying is part of that, helping them to cope with what's about to happen. But the truth is, what is about to happen is so horrible that I don't think they really could be fully ready for that. In Mark 10, 34, again talking to his disciples, "We are going up to Jerusalem," he said, "and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him and spit on him, flog him, and kill him. 3 days later, he will rise again." Again, they didn't understand. Um, So Jesus said that he was God, and we talked about this yesterday. My professor didn't said Jesus never claimed to be God, but he certainly did in a number of times. Now the Jews saw that as blasphemy, and that was one of the reasons they wanted to get rid of Jesus. And the truth is, it is either blasphemy or it's true. There's no other option. So, uh, so, uh, so when he said those things, this was the reaction of the Jewish leaders. Again, the Jews picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus said to them, "I have shown you many great miracles from the Father. For which of these do you want to stone me?" "We are not stoning you for any of these," replied the Jews, "but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God." Now, he was not a mere man, but he certainly claimed to be God. And then, I'm just going to keep reading them. He prays in the garden before his death, and we talked about that yesterday. And then he prayed what is called the high priestly prayer in John 17. He prays for himself, he prays for his disciples, and then he prays for all who would come to know him because of the disciples. So that means that Jesus prayed for you and for me. And this is part of that prayer. My prayer is not for them alone. Them alone is the disciples. My prayer is not only for my disciples. I pray for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, and that they may be one as we are one. I in them, and you in me. May they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. Father, I want those who you have given me to be with me where I am and to see my glory, the glory that you have given me because you loved me from before the creation of the world. Righteous Father, though the world does not know you, I know you, and they know that you have sent me. I have made you known to them and will continue to make you known in order that the love that you have for me may be in them and that I may myself may be with them. So, so this is Jesus' prayer for all who would believe because of the disciples. And he says much of the same things he said about his disciples, that we are in him and he is in us. And he will never leave us. And so as he was preparing to go to the cross, you were on his mind. And so he was praying for you. And hopefully we live that out. Hopefully we live out what Jesus has done for us. And so then he's arrested, and we watched that video. And then the accusations about Christ. So there were a number of accusations that were leveled at Jesus. None of them were true, and there were false witnesses. There were witnesses that were not eyewitnesses. There were there were a number of illegalities in Jesus's trial. It was conducted at night. That was against Jewish law. False witnesses are not allowed in any court anywhere. Well, maybe in closed countries, but not in Jewish court and not in American courts. If you lie under oath, you're going to get arrested. And that's exactly what they did. They lied about Jesus to get him in trouble. And time again, I believe it was 3 times, Pilate declared Jesus innocent. And he keeps saying, I see nothing deserving of punishment here. And yet, it happened. I think I have one on that. The accusations against Jesus. Pilate then called them. So remember, Pilate is a Roman procurator. He's the person that's in charge for the Romans in Jerusalem. And so Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people, and they're saying, "You've got to crucify this guy." They couldn't crucify him. The Jews couldn't, because Jews weren't allowed to crucify. Only Rome could do that. So they needed Rome to do their dirty work. And so they keep saying he's a rule breaker. He's a lawless man. So then Pilate called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people, so that's the Jewish leadership, and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who is misleading the people. And after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of your charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him." Now, there's two things here. If he's done nothing worthy to be punished, why did he punish him? Why? Yeah, he thought that that would appease them, but it didn't. That nothing short of death would be good enough for them. And so Pilate knows he's innocent. And he was so weak-willed, and we know that from history, that he wanted to keep his power. He knowingly condemned an innocent man to be executed in the worst possible way someone can die. But of course, the Jewish leadership was also wanting him to die as well, and also knew that he was innocent. So let me see if if Jesus is innocent, what should Pilate have done? What do you do with an innocent person? You let him free. Yeah, you should have let him free. And I think, and why would he flog an innocent man? He was just trying to make the Jews happy. He should have released Jesus, but he didn't. And I think that part of that is that wasn't what's supposed to happen. Otherwise, apart from the cross, we wouldn't be saved. So, and Jesus knew that. So I'm going to give you a list of illegalities. Some of them I've already told you, but you want to remember these. It was the trial was conducted at night. That was illegal by Jewish law. There were false witnesses that lied. There was testimony that didn't agree. That always reminds me of years and years ago when I was at Millard North, and a teacher told me the story, and I probably told you this story. But there were, I don't know if it was 3 boys or 4 boys, but they were late to class, and they were notorious for not being good students, let's put it that way. And so they came in late, and they said, "Sorry, we had a flat tire, so that's why we're late." And so she said, "That's fine. We took a quiz, though, so you're going to have to, after class, you're going to have to answer this or do this quiz." And they said, "Okay." And so after class, she said, "Take out a piece of paper. Here's your quiz. What tire? Which tire?" And of course, they didn't give the same answers, right? They gave conflicting answers, and so she knew that they were lying. And so there were false witnesses that were lying. And they didn't agree, right? And that was true in that story too. And then there were paid witnesses, and they weren't supposed to pay witnesses to give, false evidence, but they did that. They paid people to lie about Jesus. Are you eating? Out of the way, please. So those were a number of things that were illegal about Jesus' trial. After the verdict of crucifixion, it was customary to whip the person first. And when that happened, that person would be tied to a post, and they'd be stripped of their clothes. That sometimes they gave a loincloth to the Jews, but we don't know if that was true for Jesus or not. Now, at this point, has Jesus been convicted of anything? No. So he is going to be flogged, even though he hasn't been named as not innocent, right? There's been no charge leveled against him for him to have this happen. So I'm going to show you a video about a flogging. And the whip was known as a flagrum, and it was had a sturdy handle, a short, sturdy handle, and it would have a number of thongs coming out of it, leather, and they would in that leather, in those leather thongs, they would. That's just. And so there would be metal, there would be rocks, there would be all kinds of heavy and sharp objects woven into that flagellum. So I'm going to show you that particular video. This is the one that I can't watch. I can watch it at the beginning, but then it gets to a place where I can't. So I'm not going to force you to watch it. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. I've already explained it to you, so you know it was gruesome.